Hello and welcome to Rock Paper Shotgun and the PC Gaming Weekspot pre-show. Quite a quick one this week, but with me is the wonderful Matthew Castle. How are you, Matthew?
I am very good, thank you.
Good stuff. Have you any anecdote or anything that you could fit into maybe 40, 50 seconds for the lovely?
I just watched 20 minutes of Borat 2 to get myself in a funny kind of mood for the stream.
Well, hold that thought, because maybe Borat will come up later. Why did you watch 20 minutes? What?
Because I only had 20 minutes to kill, and I thought I'll watch 20 minutes of that because Catherine doesn't want to watch it.
I mean, it's not... Yeah, you don't necessarily have to... I feel like you could watch 20 minutes to Borat and then come back to it, and you'll still be able to catch up on the story. It's all right.
The narrative through line.
Yeah, it's quite all right.
So far, I just put a monkey in a box. That's it.
It's good stuff. And do you know what else is good stuff, Matthew Castle? It is the PC Gaming Weekspot.
Fantastic.
Hello and welcome to the PC Gaming Weekspot, your recap of the last 7 days in PC video gaming. My name is Colm and joining me on this episode and every single episode of the PC Gaming Weekspot from here on out, it's the one, the only, he's forever fixing his shirt, it's Matthew Castle.
Oh.
But you're fixing your shirt in a nice way, Matthew, not like former Mayor Rudy Giuliani.
Oh no, I wouldn't do that. Yes, I am here. Oh, look, we've been doing it a minute. We've already got a downward thumb.
It's a bit harsh. Maybe it's the mention of Borat or Mayor Rudy Giuliani. No, a little bird.
Rudy was tuning in. And didn't like being reminded of Borat 2 and was like, down with that.
Now, a little bird tells me, Matthew, you're 20 minutes into Borat 2. How have you found the first 20 minutes? Is it your has it cast you back 16 years, I think it was, when the original Borat came out?
Yeah, I didn't really like the first Borat, and I felt like a real stick in the mud because everyone loved it. And it felt like you're just being contrarian. But if it don't make it laugh, if it don't make you laugh, it don't make you laugh. What can you do?
True enough. But what's
like I remember being lying about liking it because I didn't want people to think I was a contrarian. Like, yes.
Oh yeah, my wife. Yeah, good stuff.
My wife.
Very nice. See. I felt like when it came out, I was very much, I don't know, it was the right age, it was the right time and all that. Whereas the set I've seen
10?
I've seen Borat 2 and I like it's enjoyable, but at the same time it's like feels like I don't know, it doesn't land as well as it did 15 years ago. But if it didn't land for you 15 years ago, then I can't imagine this, having a lasting impression on you. But
I just think, that when he goes up to people and people laugh at how the Americans react to him.
Yeah.
Because it as if it reveals something about them. I think if he came up to me, I would probably react in the same way, just out of nerves. Because he's so weird. He's not he's such a weird character. I think out of politeness or being scared that you'd be like, oh yes, I'll go along with it. And then everyone be like, look at this stupid man who doesn't tell this stranger to naff off. But anyway, this isn't a film stream.
No, it's not. But
the clues in the name.
Yes, it is about PC gaming. So let's kick off the show proper, Matthew. But before we get into the big news stories of the week, I do want you to crank open that gob of yours because I have got some bite-sized information snacks for you.
Info snacks for his gob.
So, a couple of the smaller stories that I have for you, Matthew. US Representative AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, launched
big fan of her
Twitch.
monitor range.
She launched a Twitch channel by playing Among Us with some of the big time streamers and YouTubers. It attracted.
And we weren't invited.
I know. Yeah, I was insulted. I didn't want to say anything.
Can't be that big time.
It attracted a peak viewership of 439,000, becoming the third largest Twitch stream ever. Now, I will give you £1 million if you can tell me the other two streamers that had the second highest and the most watched Twitch stream ever.
Ninja.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. Yeah, Ninja with his Drake stream.
Yeah. Dr. Disrespect doing something?
No, it was somebody called Shroud. It was when they went to Mixer and they came back to Twitch. So yeah. Unlucky, you're not getting £1 million. Because I would have definitely given you that too. Darkest Dungeon 2 is going to launch on the Epic Games Store in early access in 2021, but it will be available on Steam when it launches in version 1.0, which worked out for Hades, so might work out for Darkest Dungeon 2. Have you any history with the original Darkest Dungeon?
Nah, not really.
Have you any history with Super Meat Boy? Because Super Meat Boy Forever, the long-awaited sequel to 2010's terrific Super Meat Boy, editorializing a little bit, but it was terrific. It's still in the works. It was meant to be out around April of 2019, but that came and went, obviously. And last week, lead developer Tommy Refenes of, Super Meat Boy and Indie Game The Movie fame, he streamed a few hours of it to, quote, prove it's not vaporware. And I watched a bit of it, Matthew. It looks great. It really does.
I met him once at a WiiWare preview event. This was back when WiiWare hadn't yet... I don't think WiiWare had launched. And Super Meat Boy was going to be on WiiWare. It eventually wasn't, because I think it was too big for the file size. But he was there showing it off, and I played it in a preview event, and it was so tense, as Super Meat Boy is. It made me incredibly sweaty. And when I handed him back the controller, which I'd obviously moistened with my hands, he looked visibly disgusted with me. So that is my Tommy Refenes story. Did
he at least wait for you to leave before he... did you see him getting a baby wipe to it or anything like that?
No, he didn't do that in front of me or anything like that. But he was... he seemed like a very nice guy. So I'm annoyed that we're not friends because I'm too sweaty.
Devolver Digital have acquired Serious Sam and Talos principal developer Crow Team. Devolver said in a statement, Crow Team and Devolver Digital have been dating for so long that we decided to go ahead and just get married. Serious Sam 4, obviously the most recent release, kind of came and went, didn't it? Which is surprising, really, seeing as it is such a... I mean, it's not a massive series or anything like that, but it is. The people that like it do really like it.
I had some slightly bigger stuff going on in my life when all that was kicking off, so, I didn't really pay much attention. I like Crow Team, though. I really liked that puzzle game that you just mentioned. I liked it so much I can't remember its name.
No, it was definitely memorable.
What was it called? The one with all the...
Talos Principle.
Talos Principle, yeah. That's great.
Ubisoft has announced...
I'm not full of shit. I really liked it.
Ubisoft has announced Assassin's Creed post-launch DLC will take players to Paris in summer 2021 and Ireland in spring 2021. Now, I will obviously be watching the Irish one like a hawk because I don't trust them and I'm sure it'll be full of loads of paddy-wackery bullshit. In other Ubisoft news, as of October 29th, Uplay is no more. In its place, I know. In its place will be Ubisoft Connect. But one of the cool features of Ubisoft Connect is that with quote select games, you'll be able to take your save from PC to console and back, basically. Now, obviously enough, to be able to do that, you'll need to be one of the elite because you'll need to buy the game on both Ubisoft Connect and on Xbox or Play. Yeah. It doesn't, you don't get the buy it once and then you just get it. It's far as I know, anyway. But Matthew, those are your little information snacks.
Well, thanks. My gob is full.
It is full. Well, I'm going to ask that you make a little bit more room in there as we get into the big stories this week in headlines and hot takes. So, in headlines and hot takes, we start off. Thanks, Gordon. He's always good in fairness.
Cheers,
with sticks. But yes, we start off with a story that I saw and thought that it would be near and dear to your heart, Matthew Castle, being the Death Stranding fan that you are. Kojima Productions is working on its next video game. In a tweet from Kojima Productions, they said, they just confirmed a new project is in development, and the studio is looking to hire the best-in-class talent to work out of our Tokyo studio. For more information, blah, 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 blah. Look at the job listing, so on and so forth. Now, that is literally all that is known about it, but you being a big Death Stranding fan, Matthew, I think it's fair to say one of your favourite games of the year?
Sure.
One of?
Yeah.
Is that where you see Kojima Productions going? Would you like them to continue on with Death Stranding, with a new Death Stranding? Or the other kind of rumour floating about is maybe something horror-y? Because obviously Kojima did PT, which was the kind of the playable teaser for Silent Hills, which also starred Norman Reedus, but then that obviously got shit-canned because of the falling out with Konami. But yeah, what would you be more interested in? Would you be more interested in a horror game from Kojima and Kojima Productions, or see what they would do with a sequel to Death Stranding?
I don't really mind what they make next, but I would like them to make another original game. That could be the horror game, like the Silent Hills-y thing that they were talking about. I think I've, like, as much as I like it, I've had my fill of Death Stranding, and it explores its idea fully, and it's also kind of ends on an it's a relatively complete note. You know, I don't feel the need to know more about this stuff. But the main reason I like Death Stranding was it was different to his previous games. It explored new ideas. You know, it tried interesting stuff. You know, he's a very creative guy, and while there is a lot of that creativity in Metal Gear across the years, it was always filtered through. Like, it is fundamentally a Metal Gear game about a guy hiding in bushes and inside a cardboard box, and there were certain boxes he had to tick. And what was fun about Death Stranding was just seeing, you know, if you have a blank page, what do you do? I mean, it's kind of quite rare in that it's just like a true original, not based on anything, just sort of plucks it out of his mad head. And there's not a lot of that, you know. I was talking about this with friends the other day about how this generation, like, what were the new games that like actually emerged? You know, if you compare it to the previous generation, you know, where it felt like we've been playing the sequels to everything people invented on 360 and PS3,
Uncharted, Gears, Halo, like just
all of it. It's just you know, and this one actually this is a big fully formed thing, and you know,
I mean, when Kojima was first talking about Death Stranding, he was giving it the big one and saying how, you know, this is so hard to describe. It's unlike anything you've ever seen, so on and so forth. And I think a lot of naysayers were like, piss off. Well, like, well, what are you going to do different or whatever? It's just going to be Metal Gear again. And I think the takeaway I had from Death Stranding was the sort of the asynchronous multiplayer and, you know, building bridges with other people, and all that was like, oh, this does actually feel like a fresh idea. Now, I suppose your mileage will vary with Death Stranding, as I suppose they will with all Kojima games. Now, with like Metal Gear, love it. Death Stranding, that's one that for me comes under the category of game I respect. And I kind of go, yeah, I like, even you made carrying a load of boxes entertaining enough. but there was
And
definitely yes, yeah. But there, it didn't wow me, I suppose, in the way that I don't
no,
know Metal Gear Solid 3 did or whatever.
that's I don't think that's like. I don't mean to put down your hot take, but like, there's plenty of people who feel that.
Oh
way.
no! Like I'm not implying that it is I'm the only one to have this opinion. I know that, like, but that's the thing with Kojima. His games are quite marmitey, but like
though they are, I would say, like Metal Gear is a lot more traditionally gamey than this was. Like your aims here and what you're trying to achieve here are quite odd and at odds with what you would naturally try and do, and the fact that it didn't play. It's not that it didn't play to his strengths. The fact that he kind of decided not just to he could have put Metal Gear's stealth in here. Actually, it's a very watered down stealth game. Like the actual action in Death Stranding's pretty basic, but in a way that I like. It doesn't really get in the way of it. It's you're not some superhero. All the stuff that's deep and interesting is the delivery stuff and the kind of mailman simulator aspects. No, I'd just like to see him kind of apply himself to something new. I think, with something like this, you do wonder if there's an element of like it's a new studio, and you wonder if, maybe he's got a head full of ideas and he picks particular projects because it's going to like let you test stuff out and get used to things like a new engine, working without Konami, the asynchronous multiplayer. And it's quite I would love to see that come through. That is like the most interesting bit of Death Stranding, and obviously in making that, they had to work out how to make that work and kind of how that sort of plays into it. And, I don't see them throwing away, that knowledge that they've kind of accrued by making this. But I don't want to see, and that's the thing about the horror game. Like you do, it's if they did make, whatever PT or whatever was going to be, like that was, a very different thing. A very different proposition.
That's what I was going to say. Would you be excited by the prospect of them not getting, tabling Death Stranding for a couple of years? Build up the hype and the anticipation or whatever. But in the meantime, work on, for all intents and purposes, PT, but obviously nothing to do with Silent Hill and all that. Because
I'm personally, I'm less excited about that pitch just because I'm not very good with horror games and I don't really play them. I don't really appreciate them. But like PT was, is one of the scariest things I've played or generally experienced.
Terrifying. Yeah, like
it's one of the only bits of any media that I have actually screamed at out loud and then had to go and apologize to all my housemates.
Was it
like
the
an actual scream? Like an actual scream,
but
not
that
like
ah!
Like I really lost it playing that game.
I'm guessing you're talking about the bit near the start where she comes up in your face. Yeah,
we did something and she appeared, and then she just goes straight at you really fast down and because we saw him, we were like, oh, is that a thing? And then it came at us and that made me scream.
But it is I'm the same as you. It's not that I love horror games or anything like that. I love a few of them, but again, it's not my chosen genre. But I remember playing PT and just being like blown away by how well made it was anyway, first of all, and how it felt so fleshed out for all intents and purposes a demo, but also how pants-shittingly scary it was. Really, really terrifying.
There is an obvious through line from Metal Gear Solid 5 to Death Stranding in terms of like open world game, and traditionally horror has been like a lot more like a linear experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be interested to see if he wants to actually try and make like somehow combine that open world knowledge with horror. It hasn't really been done. Like the Evil Within 2
I was
had
just going to say it, yeah.
Sort of like but I always think of them as like large hubs rather than like proper open world. But the idea of very scripted or crafted scares like embedded in an open world, I think is an interesting thing. Like I think the Evil Within 2 started to do something interesting there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting. Like the in the run up to Death Stranding, I thought it was going to be a massive bust just because Kojima was showing all the kind of the cutscene stuff and the kind of actors, and that's the side of his work I'm less interested in. Is like his storytelling in cinematics and his celebrity cameos. That to me is very interesting. But actually, once I got into it, I fell in love with the game. It's mechanically a beautiful thing, and he still has that. Like he may idolize the kind of cinematic elements of his own work, but him and the people he surrounds himself with still make absolutely killer games. So my very boring take is I look forward to whatever they do. But I also know not to judge it based on whatever Kojima says for like 4 years, because it probably won't be that. It'll be it's like, surprise, there was a good game under all the bullshit.
Yeah, which was the case with Death Stranding and Metal Gear Solid 5 as well. So we'll see what Kojima Productions produces. But one thing we know is that there are a number of StarCraft 2 developers that are after leaving Blizzard. We spoke about this last week, and they're after setting up a new studio called Frost Giant Studios. And yeah, so they're made up mostly StarCraft 2 developers, and in I think it was on their website, Tim Morton, the CEO and former production lead on StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void, Tim said, real-time strategy players are an incredibly passionate community, and they deserve not just a great new game, but one they can share broadly with friends. Building a worthy successor will take time, but we're incredibly excited and grateful to carry real-time strategy forward at Frost Giant Studios. Their announcement also included in their little statement, they mentioned something about, quote, lowering the barrier to entry into RTS, as well as significantly enhancing cooperative campaign and competitive gameplay. Now, I know we spoke last week about the two of us finding StarCraft 2 impenetrable. So what I ask you, Matthew Castle, is what would it take for a StarCraft 2 like to get you interested? Because my understanding of what's being said here is that they want to reach that broad audience. They want to reach the people who maybe would find a StarCraft impenetrable. Or is it as simple as, not my bag, not that interested?
I don't. It's troubling one. I know. I always feel like a bit of a fraud in the RP when I was in the RPS treehouse for not liking RTS games, because it's just like classic PC territory. And I just it's just a genre I've never ever clicked with. I remember getting Red Alert for my birthday or Christmas many years ago, because all my friends had it and were obsessed with it, and listening to them talk about it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm really up for that. And even that, which is, by the genre standards, pretty accessible and mainstream, was just too hard for me. Like I just couldn't play it. I haven't got the brain for it. I wonder if it's a genre that simply can't be simplified or watered down enough for like an idiot like me.
Well, that's what I was going to say to you. Like when they talk about not those specific words. Well, I'll include me as well, an idiot like me too. But I just wonder if they can reach that broad audience. If that broad audience is willing to jump into an RTS and listen, I understand StarCraft 2, it did well. It sold quite a lot. So it's not like there is a large number of players out there who,
there are literally people who died playing it because they loved it so much in Korea.
Exactly. But I just wonder.
I'm not laughing at them. The more preposterousness of the statement.
I just wonder if you would get, your third person action adventure player, your first person player, whatever. I'm just not sure if the genre. I don't know if the genre, if those people are attracted to real-time strategy. I don't know.
I am a believer that like anything can be like modified or can be given a hook to draw new people in. It hasn't. I don't think it's been done yet. Every once in a while, basically, like it felt in the last gen, there was a bit more on the 360 at least. There was a bit of a push to try and do like RTSs on console, which felt like a step towards it because it's like this is traditional PC territory. So if you make them work on the console, that's kind of an indicator that we've like broadened this a bit. And a lot of it was focused on like controls and sort of simplifying kind of inputs, and it gave you things like Halo Wars. It gave you things like there was a strategy game that was it was a Tom Clancy thing, and it was like it wasn't called Risk, but Ruse. I think it was called Ruse.
I don't remember
Ruse? Risk, Ruse.
One of them. But what was it about this?
Ruse. There were attempts to try and it was voice activated. That was it. That was its like big. That's how we're going to do strategy.
So you would rather than like actually input.
Maybe a bit chessy, a bit like this unit to square 5 kind of thing.
Then you just feel like a massive tit if you were like in your front room saying all this.
But these are things which are those more are questions of like input. I haven't seen, and I haven't really gone looking for it. So maybe there is this in indie land, and something I love where people have like really taken a hammer to it and have tried to kind of drill down into like what the core of the genre is, but just sort of take off so many of the edges. And I'd say like it can be done. Like there are genres that I have no interest in, like racing games, for example. Like I just didn't care for racing games until like Forza Horizon, which had just changed enough stuff, and like there were enough accessibility options, and there was just enough like the angle of approach was just perfect. For actually it sold me on like the entire fantasy of the thing. It's not a fantasy I have, and I feel like that's not even that substantial. It's still recognizably a racing game, like lots of other things, like Burnout Paradise or something. Like, but feel
do you not think that racing games are a little bit? They're I don't know, easier to understand for the masses.
And absolutely, and that was that. And arguably that's more just a question of like taste. Someone had to find something that, I don't know, removed the obnoxious elements. With RTS, it's like a big mechanical problem. Like my brain isn't wired. You almost need a game that teaches you these things. And it's something we always ask, like when we interview, when I interview anyone working on a traditional PC genre that I don't understand, I always ask them about like onboarding new players and tutorials and this kind of stuff, like because I can't play these games. I'm terrible at the Total War, like things like Total War, anything grand strategy games, and they always say, this is going to be our most accessible one, and we're going to have tooltips that explain it. But fundamentally, what the game can't teach you is to be good at strategy, which is the thing I'm not. And like there is like just a part of my brain that doesn't work, and I think the breakthrough game will have to somehow tackle that. And I don't think it can just be through tutorializing. I think it needs to be like the entire game. You almost need a game which will teach you, and then you can go and play all the other RTS games. But to try and make that teaching game also fun for existing RTS fans, I just don't see how that will happen.
I think Forza Horizon 4 is a very good example. Like when it introduced your XP. I mean, Project Cars 3 even went down that route because Forza Horizon 4 was so successful in it. But like with that game, it was just constant, like, smashed into a fence, here's some XP. Like, went over a ramp, here's some XP. It was just constantly, well done. It was always rewarding you. So I suppose with an RTS, maybe if it went down that route and it was like, rather than here is a big battle that's going to last an hour, we're going to constantly, there's a carrot on a stick and we'll constantly pat you on the head.
Yeah, but I am at a level where I am in any strategy game, like drag the mouse box over all units, click on the other side, and just hope for the best. And that just doesn't work. I mean,
Sadly,
like
no.
almost something which, like maybe like something which maybe does almost enter into that territory is something like Bad North. Did you play that with the Vikings?
I didn't. Was that the small little
Like,
cute little Viking
yeah,
things?
you know, it's more like tower defense. You know, you're not pushing out then strategy, but like that does have this very basic like these units for these units against these units. Spatially, they behave in this very understandable. The space is tiny, and it's not that it's so easy that you win it, but like you do understand the rules of it, and you can understand the rules of its strategy, but like that won't appeal or speak to a hardcore player of this genre, I don't think. And I don't really see someone who's going to invest the mega money to make a big, expensive RTS is going to go, you know, they're going to go for the existing fans. They're not going to gamble on being the game that converts people.
No, but then like listening to Frost Giant, it sounds like they do want the likes of us to play their game. Well, you know, they're looking for a broad audience and all that, so...
I thought a lot of their stuff sounded like maybe like digs at we're not...
Oh, we're not Blizzard. Is this
no, you know, all this like we want, you know, it to be nice and open, and you can play with who you want to play, which is like secret talk for, you know, it's not all going to be locked away behind some kind of you know, Blizzard owned online platform and all this kind of stuff. But I don't. That's my, you know, if being cynical take.
Well, talking of cynical takes, Matthew, the internet was all aflutter last week.
Oh, yes, I saw this.
When Alex Hutchinson, remember the name, although some people probably familiar, you know, he worked at Ubisoft for many's a year, but he is now a creative director at Stadia, and unprovoked, nobody asked him a question, nothing, he just offered this information up for people. On Twitter, Alex said, let me pull it up here, I can even show it to the people at home. Alex said, streamers worried about getting their content pulled because they used music they didn't pay for should be more worried by the fact that they're streaming games they didn't pay for as well. It's all gone as soon as publishers decide to enforce it. The real truth is the streamers should be paying the developers and publishers of the games they stream. They should be buying a license like any real business and paying for the content they use. Now, this created such a wave.
I will say from the outset, I thought the reaction to this, while I don't agree with him, I thought the reaction to this was preposterously overblown.
Very true. But before we get onto the reaction,
it's an incredibly lukewarm take. It's a developer saying, "I think developers should get more out of the streaming equation." Which
yes,
I don't, you know.
But hold on, before we get on to your thoughts, Google had some thoughts, and those thoughts were as simple as this. They said in their statement, the recent tweets by Alex Hutchinson, creative director at the Montreal studio of Stadia Games and Entertainment, do not reflect those of Stadia, YouTube, or Google. So distancing themselves. Yes, to your point, the reaction that this garnered was ludicrous. Like pitchforks and mob mentality.
I don't mean that in the way of like what he said was great. I will say I don't agree with him, but he picked a fight with like the most vocal part of the internet, which is gobby influencers and the people they influence. Which, you know, it's like if you're going to pick a fight with anyone, not them. Like they are, you know, they live on social media. They are social media creations. And the idea, it was dumb. It was so dumb seeing someone like experienced in the industry make
such a mistake,
something like that.
Just make a again. I like you. I don't agree with what he's saying, but I also thought the reaction wasn't weighted properly. I didn't think
It
I
didn't
didn't think
help
it.
that he did like he had that kind of proud reaction where he then like doubled down and got like snarky and aggressive with people who are like,
Yeah.
"This is a bad take." I'm not like, and I think he's a bit older than I am, but like the one thing you don't want as an old man of the internet is having snarky teenagers schooling you. Like it's awful.
No.
I mean, it's awful. What a bitter pill to swallow, but sometimes you have to swallow it. Because I said, you know, I remember I made a much watered down, dumb version of this many years ago, when something kicked off about who owned the right to monetize. I think it was one of the Nintendo things actually. It was one of,
I
like,
was going to ask you about Nintendo. Like they are famously, they brought it in a couple of years ago, where they
Yeah.
would DMCA people who would put up
Yeah.
let's plays and
Yeah,
all
because I
that.
remember like this in the early days of YouTube when I was back on Nintendo Mags. A part of my brain was thinking, well, like everyone has to, you know, you have all these journalists who have to abide by like certain sort of conditions to have access to this stuff, and it's not wild those conditions would be applied to other people. But it was a bit. I was just more me being frustrated as someone on a magazine not having the total freedom that the YouTubers had, I think. And I remember I got some like absolute shit from that, like a very watered down version of this, and it wasn't anything close to it. But
do you think there's any fear that could be a future that could happen, that developers or publishers could go the Nintendo route, go this route that Alex Hutchinson is saying, and in the same way that if I wanted to put out a single of a cover of Zombie by the Cranberries, I have to pay the Cranberries to cover Zombie. So because I'm using their work, and you know all that, and obviously it would go straight to number one, but the family of Dolores Reardon would get a lot of it. But like, do you I don't know, is there any credence to that argument? You're in a safe space here, Matthew. Nobody will get cross.
and the whole thing's so messy because the relationship established is that streamers are a valuable thing
Yes.
to publishers. I think maybe the relationship between streamers and publishers and streamers and developers is maybe different. I think maybe if you're an indie and you've made a little 2-hour story game, like there have been plenty of studios who are like, if you stream a 2-hour story game, no one needs to buy it. And I have some sympathy for that. And I think it's on a case by case basis, but like genuinely, you know, there's all kinds of surveys and evidence that people will see stuff, engage with it and buy it, you know, that it doesn't necessarily lock stuff up. I mean, it's quite a young form to be to generalize about. You know, it's quite hard to take lessons away from it because it's only really been, you know, massive for, you know, so few years. It's a tricky one. I think he was pointing out that like there are a lot more formal rules in other industries and not in ours, which is true. You know,
Totally true. But I suppose, as you say, it is like whatever about the influencer, the YouTuber, the Twitch streamer, the whatever, like whatever about them being like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years old, maybe more, maybe 10. Let's call it a decade. Like video games itself is also a young medium. Like it doesn't have all of the years that and I'm sure all of the kind of tricky situations in music where, again, to use music as an example, I mean, people say Elvis made a killing off of other people's music, black artists' music. And so I don't know. It is, maybe it's not a like for like then.
It's a messy. Yeah, I must admit, I haven't thought too deeply on the actual topic because I was just reacting to the yikes. This guy's getting it, and he really did. Which I think he's made some good game. Not that has any bearing on it, but like he made Far Cry 4, that was fun.
Far Cry 4 was fun.
Like hilariously, he probably worked with all these influencers to get them to stream Journey to the Savage Planet when they released that earlier in the year. Well, they did. Loads of people streamed it. And it's just quite funny to see all those streamers who are like, I love Journey to the Savage Planet, #ad, and now like, fuck this guy. And you're like, awesome. Is that also a #ad? I don't know. And it does show that they're very fickle creatures, which is a criticism. The one I'm looking forward to is when we get to Cyberpunk, and it's got all these influences in it, and they're going to be telling you to buy it, even though they're in it. How fucking bent is that? That's crazy. If we did that as journalists, we'd be freaking crucified.
Indeed.
But we won't have that conversation because
that's for another time. If that comes up in the news or something, maybe we'll talk about that.
That is bullshit. That is some bullshit. But
yes, I wholeheartedly agree. And another thing I know we agree on, Matthew, is the quality of Gears 5, an excellent video game from 2018, 19? Was that 19?
Yeah, it was last year.
I think
it was last year.
Yeah, it was. Gears 5, excellent. And we're going to be getting more of it, Matthew, in the form of downloadable content. Because speaking to IGN, the coalition developer of Gears 5, they said, quote, that DLC is coming in December, and the name of it is Hive Busters. So it might give you a little hint as to what that content might contain. They also mentioned it would be on the new consoles, and there would be a playtime of between 3 and 4 hours. There'll be more details on the DLC in the future. But yeah, coming out in December, more Gears 5. So what they were saying when, like, you know, might give you a little hint as to what this is, this Hive Busters. That's because this crew, the Hive Busters, their story is fleshed out in some of the Gears of War comic books, but within the world of video games, we only see them in the Escape multiplayer mode, which I don't know about you, Matthew, but I thought it was fine. It is where you and 2 co-op partners go through. Was it procedurally generated? I think it might have been. Yeah, let's say yes. But it was where
I didn't play a vast amount of that mode.
But yeah, it was. I played it for review, the escape, because I was playing. I reviewed Gears 5, and I played the escape mode for review just to play it, you know, and to have some opinion on it, and never went back to it. I thought it was fine, but it's just not as good as the other Gears 5 modes. So I don't really have any attachment to these characters.
Of that mode.
They're saying it's these characters. Yeah, it is fleshing out these characters rather than more escape mode.
I mean, I'll tell you what, I'll give you £1 million if you can name all 3 of them.
There's a lot of I'll give you £1 million if I don't think I could name one, Matthew.
I'll give you £10 million if you can name one of the Hive Busters.
Louise. Is that one of them?
No.
But
there'll be surnames. It'll be like Briggs. She may be called Louise Briggs, but it'll be Briggs.
Do you? Well, I suppose will this tide you over until Gears 6? Because I think it's safe to say that the 2 of us probably would be looking forward to more of Kate's story and Dell and. Oh, all right, fair enough. I apologise.
I wouldn't say I've cared much about the story. I'm looking forward to the next game because I really like Gears 5 as a game, but I couldn't tell it, like, it's not because I'm intrigued by what happens next in the saga of Kate.
See, without spoiling anything, because if you haven't played Gears 5, you should. It's on, tick on the bingo card, it's on Game Pass. It's very good.
That's great.
But I thought that the story was very good up to a point in the middle where it went a little weird, and also they didn't earn a thing that happened at the end. But again, don't want to go into spoilers. But I suppose in that case then, would you be happy just to have a reason to play Gears 5 again? Because if you're not really invested in the characters.
I would definitely play more story content based on how much I like the campaign in Gears 5. I'm really intrigued by if they charge for it, because I've been wondering for a while if one of Game Pass gives you all these games. If there was going to start to be stuff to try and tempt Game Pass people to start spending money, so it's like you got the game for free, so come on, it's a $5 for the DLC, and you're like, okay, I might do that. There used to be this argument that in the early days of like games with gold and PS Plus. I remember lots of people were always asking developers, what's in it for you? What's the actual benefit of this? And quite a few of them would say, well,
a lump sum.
What you make in like DLC and add-ons and stuff is actually, it's worth giving away the game for free, because we're not, they're being paid by Sony and Microsoft, but the kind of ecosystem around these things kind of picks up. And it's weird that Microsoft don't really do this. Like this generation for them, has been like multiplayer passes, I guess, for some things with like skins and seasons, but the single player expansion is kind of dead, considering how much of it there was last gen. I mean, so many things had another little 2 hours or 3 hours, and we used to have sections of the mag dedicated, when I was on official Xbox, dedicated to covering this stuff, and you could easily fill a spread of reviews with all the new story DLC, but not anymore.
It kind of has died out, hasn't it? And I suppose been replaced by, I don't know, microtransactions or multiplayer modes or whatever, like where I often, myself, I'm more interested in, especially if I'm invested in a game or a story or whatever, give me more DLC, flesh out that story if there is more story to be told.
I see the comments, someone referring to it's being stuffed with microtransactions, and it is with regards to its like multiplayer and its systems, but it's more the single player stuff I'm sort of picking out as a, I won't spend money on multiplayer stuff because it's absolutely meaningless. Like you get nothing for it, generally.
Very true, yeah.
The few expansions I have bought have always been campaign story. I hope they give it away for free. I mean, I feel like they need something shiny around like the Xbox Series X launch, like, just because they don't have any exclusive games, just to be able to go like, here's some shiny graphics in this new story expansion or whatever. I'm not saying that's the same as a game release, but it's something, and Xbox don't have a lot to say outside of the console, and obviously everything they do there we get on PC, which is why it's relevant.
Yeah, except there was another little nugget in this IGN covering Gears story where they mentioned, I mean, it's since been revealed now, but like where Dave Bautista of Drax the Destroyer or wrestler fame,
is he different? Is it spelled differently when he's a wrestler?
It's Batista, Batista, when he's a wrestler, and it's there's just a U. There's a U after the A.
Is Batista then like a character compared to him, or is it him? I
mean, yeah. What do you mean?
Does he play like? Well, that's what I wondered about the spec. Like, is there a? I know maybe isn't very.
I mean, he's
I was just curious if there was a divide between, because I always assumed that was just his name. I thought he was called Dave Bautista.
No, he's Dave Bautista, I suppose. And I suppose there's a separation between Dave Bautista and Batista, in the same way there's a separation between Will Smith and Will Smith from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They're not going to be exactly.
Well, no, I know that, but like.
Another thing, Matthew, an awful lot about is technology, because it's time to head into Tech Corner. So the big story this week is about Intel. Intel CEO Bob Swan, during the company's Q3 earnings call, he was talking about Intel's 7nm process node. And he, I have a direct quote here. I know you'll all be at the edge of your seat. Bob said, "So as we think about 2023 and beyond, we're looking at the products required at that time. We're evaluating as we exit 2020 and really early 2021, because that's the time when we'll have to make the determination as to whether we're buying more 7nm equipment or whether a third-party foundry would be adding that capacity. Now, obviously enough, that leads me to you, Matthew Castle, and I know you'll have, your head is just bursting with things to say. So what I have to say to you, Matthew, is if you were having a toasted cheese sandwich, what would be in that toasted cheese sandwich? Would it definitely be ham?
Oh, would you think less of me if I said tomato?
Oh! Oh, Jesus!
A slice of wet tomato getting really hot so it scalds your mouth.
No, thank you, Matthew. Oh, I should have asked you about the nanometer capacity. Oh, God. What, just cheese and wet, sloppy
Not
tomato.
whole tomato, like slices of tomato.
No, thank you. And with disgust, I bring to an end headlines and hot takes, which brings us nicely on to our next segment of the show. It is time to talk about the games we've been playing over the last 7 days in Show and Tell.
Show and tell, show and tell. We can't afford a proper jingle. Jingle. It's meant to be jingle.
Yes, this is the part of the show indeed where we talk about the games that we've been playing over the last 7 days. And maybe I've played a half an hour of it, but I have played Little Nightmares 2, which is scheduled to launch next February, I think it is.
Tomatoes as Little Nightmares.
Oh, God. Horrible, disgusting, sloppy, manky nightmares. Very similar to the ones you find in Little Nightmares 2, in fact. Little Nightmares 2 is, as you'll probably know if you played the first one, terrifying. It really is. So, yes, I played a half an hour of the game. It was the hospital level, which I think they've shown off maybe in trailers and all that previously.
Are you not in you're not in that ship anymore, or that underwater city, or whatever the hell it was? It was like a submarine?
So the thing is, I don't know the context for this part of the game.
Oh, okay, right.
I just literally, I was just thrown into this level. Set in a hospital, and your standard puzzle platforming things where I had to find fuses to power up switches and doors and so on. But from this half an hour, it was as you'd expect. And if the first game did creep you out, like it is genuinely very scary. And I think it all comes down to the awkward kind of movement and the awkward yet deliberate movement, I suppose, of the enemies, that as soon as they see you, it's like, I'm going to kill that little bastard. And how large they are, I suppose, in comparison to you. Because, like, very similar to, I suppose it was a trend that started with the first Amnesia, correct me if I'm wrong, but Little Nightmares is about outrunning these nasty threats and, not trying to take them on. The
non-combat survival horror is...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know where it technically begins, but
let's
say Amnesia.
We'll say Amnesia. Yeah. In this demo, the enemies were sort of like Boos, I suppose, from Super Mario, in that they would move in the darkness, but I had a little torch that when I shone that in their face, they would stand still. So it was about like one sequence where there was a little, or one of these mannequins on a wheelchair, and I had to get them to step off of it so I could move it. So all kind of your puzzle platforming type of stuff. But Matthew, there is some combat in this game.
Oh.
And I think some people might be fond of it. I think it works though, because as well as these large mannequins that were
chasing you.
As well as
stressful.
Very stressful. So as well as the large mannequins that I was up against, I came across this horrible, disgusting, creepy hand, similar to Thing, I suppose, in the Addams Family. And it was, whenever it came across me, it just went for me. And if it reached me, it covers your face and it suffocates you. Like, horrible stuff. But the end of that sequence, you come across a hammer and you're able to actually use that hammer to whack this hand and essentially kill it, I suppose. But I think the combat works because the hammer itself, right, it's not like this hammer gets added to your inventory. The hammer is, you pick it up, it's unbelievably heavy, you use it in this area to kill the hand, and then you move on. So if combat throughout the game, again, just played a half an hour, don't know the whole extent of the game and how it works, but if that's how combat is handled throughout, I think that's okay. I think that works quite well and adds some variation to the game, something new that wasn't there previously. It's like, you know, the Gatling guns that you pick up in, say, Gears of War. Where, like, you pick it up, you can use it in that area, but you move so slowly, you have to drop it to move. It's the same thing.
I think it would, yeah. I know. When they said they were making a sequel, I did think, well, something will have to change, because I don't know if I just want another game of just pushing crates and running away from meat monsters. Like, there was enough of that in the first game.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they are actually doing something. I'm very taken with these, like, mannequins. That's good. That's like, what are those, what are the Doctor Who things that come after you when you don't look at them?
Oh, you're talking to the wrong man about Doctor Who.
There's these like statues that come after you. They've got a big that energy.
But they're just I suppose Little Nightmares, the original, was very good at making the normal abnormal, or making it, you know, scary. When you think back to the chef bit, there's a bit in the library, like all kind of very pedestrian type stuff. But when put in the hands of Tarsier Studios, the developer, who also worked on Little Big Planet, which is also very cutesy, they just have obviously very twisted minds. But that's good for us because it creates these really compelling games. Like, it's not that I loved the first one. I thought the first one was very good, but I didn't fall for it hook, line, and sinker like some other people did.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. Like, I actually thought it was a little bit like twee in places. Like
okay.
Music and everything. Yeah, I don't know. It was okay. Like, to me, it felt like a slightly messy version of Inside because it was 3D and not just 2D planes. I felt like it was going. It was sort of going for that Inside thing, but it was just a bit more sort of explicit with it all. It didn't have the kind of the sort of weird, the very hard to define kind of dread of Playdead's games. Felt just a bit more mainstream and kind of cliched in some of the spooky things it was trying to do, but it was still good. It was fine. It was a bit 7 out of 10.
I thought it was its own thing. I didn't really find it.
But like the physics, the fact like it was like all about pushing crates and like physics sort of puzzles. And...
You push crates in a lot of games. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I just thought the puzzles were very similar to.
I suppose I never found Limbo or Inside. Like, this is very clearly. This and the original were very clearly horror games. They're still, whereas Limbo is, the spider's a little bit, it's creepy, of course, but I don't think it's not horror as such, and I don't think Inside is as well. Obviously, the thing at the end is quite horrible, but I don't think it's horror necessarily.
Yeah.
Whereas there is a real, like, when I was being swarmed by these mannequins, genuinely like, all right, fair enough. I wasn't dousing my controller in sweat, but it was still quite terrifying, and I think quite promising to play this and be kind of as pleased with it as I was to make me excited for Little Nightmares 2 when it comes out in February of next year. So yeah, very much looking forward to that.
Nice.
And another game I'm very much looking forward to, but I know I'll get to play it a lot sooner. Matthew Castle. Ghostrunner.
I am eating some Rennie. I thought I could surreptitiously get them in my mouth, but I couldn't.
It was very, very close. I can leave you finish if you'd like. Would you like to finish for... Or do you know what? I'll intro it whilst you chew on your Rennie. Ghostrunner, Matthew Castle. A game that when I was made aware of it, and it's Hotline Miami, stroke Titanfall, stroke Mirror's Edge, stroke Super Meat Boy, stroke whatever you want to say. I I was like, I'm into this. But you lucky so-and-so, you've got to play the whole game. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it. So for the people who aren't aware of Ghostrunner, please do tell, what is Ghostrunner?
You are this sort of cyborg ninja, and you are climbing this massive skyscraper called Dharma Tower. And his moveset is quite Titanfall-y. You've got like a grappling hook, you've got a wall run, you've got a knee slide. If you go down ramps, it speeds you up. You're sort of flinging yourself around. The difference is it's all sword combat, or from you, it's all sword combat. Everyone else has guns. I would have brought a gun too. That's his major failing, is that he literally brings a sword to a gunfight, which is dumb. And it's one-hit kills. So you fall down a gap, you're dead. Anyone snags you, you're dead. And you have to get pretty close to quite dangerous things to fight them. So it's quite a tense game of risk and reward.
Mm-hmm.
On paper, like I thought this was going to be just like a big crazy power fantasy. It's just like, wow, ninjas are cool. You can pull off like these sort of 2-minute sequences of just obscene power. But actually it's about you die really quickly, and so you just have to be super fast and super efficient with everything. It's kind of split into two halves. There's sort of platforming, which is kind of getting around the tower, which is quite linear. Like there are clear routes where you're having to wall jump between things and grapple at the right time, and all that jazz, which are fine, but they're very like, it's kind of on the rails. Like you're obviously doing it, but you're just sort of following this very fixed path that they want you to follow. But in combat, you suddenly get these arenas, and you have to kill every enemy in it before the door will unlock. So they've all got these chips in their heads, and it becomes a lot more interesting. It's almost like a big combat puzzle, because it's about the order you tackle enemies. Certain enemies you're going to struggle with more. They all behave differently. Do you want to try and get rid of the most dangerous enemy first? Do you want to kind of run around the edges, picking off the lighter enemies? You'll keep seeing me do these slow-mo dodges in the air. Like you can slow-mo time and sort of skid around bullets, but there are a lot of bullets, and you will die a lot, and often you die and you don't really know why you've died, which is one of the things that bugged me a little bit about combat. It's a game that...
What do you mean you don't know why you died?
Well, often, like, there's so many enemies, like something will just shoot you from off screen, and you're like, oh, okay. And, eventually each arena, you're basically replaying again and again to get a lay of the land, work out an optimal route through it. And that's all fine. And I was struggling with it a little bit right at the very beginning, just because I felt like it's quite fast and punishing. I had something which felt quite fun. Like, then his ninja powers on paper are really sort of fun to mess around with, but you had to sort of behave in such a disciplined way that I wasn't having massive fun with it. But as the game develops, it basically introduces lots of new enemy types, which are way better than the gunmen who are there at the start. And they behave in very specific ways. They've got very fixed attack patterns. And so this idea of it being a puzzle where you go into a room and you can see everyone and you know how they're going to behave. And so you start kind of picking them off in an order that works for you, and you can make your plans a bit more. And executing that is really good fun. It felt a little bit sort of seat of the pants for the first few hours, which I'm never a massive fan of in games.
I thought you were going to go another way with that, because I did play a preview build of this a couple of months ago, and I very much found that like every room was, I suppose, similar to Doom or Doom in that regard. Every room is a puzzle type of combat.
It is, but the difference is, like here, because one hit will kill you. You just naturally have a bit more wiggle room in Doom, and Doom is the harder game in that it just throws so much more at you, and you have to like really be on it, and it asks you to kind of keep your shit together for quite a long time, which is the different here. Like really, you're just trying to pull off little 15-second bursts of like really efficient killing. Oh god, I'm watching on my desk. It's embarrassing, but I wanted to show you the rhythm of the game and how fast you respawn.
But you know what? This shows the realism of the game as well, Matthew.
Because that's important. Oh god, I'm very messy. But as it introduced like more powers and more enemy types, like there are ninjas that you have to parry, there are these robots, you have to sort of slide under their energy fields to stab them in the guts. There are these giant bouncing guys that you can sort of dodge at the last minute and stab them up. Like, I actually much preferred the close combat enemies, like, 'cause it fits with your moveset a bit better. All this
Fair.
dodging bullets, it's not really where the game's at its best, I don't think.
But like you said, you can be shot off screen, and it feels unfair. Is it because, like for the close quarters combat, that never feels fair. If you make a mistake, that's your fault. Is it?
Yeah, there are enemies which just feel like they behave in a more rigid way. So I feel like I know how I failed with them. I know if I mistimed the slide under the thing, and they'll argue that yes, you've got this bullets. The strategy for these gunmen is you slide around them, but there are so many gunmen. Sometimes it's very difficult to dodge them. But that's like I pushed on. I died 1,423 times in the course of the campaign. Which is a huge amount. If you had a heat map of it, you'd probably see that they're focused on, like, there are a couple of sections I genuinely died like hundreds of times. There's like one series of jumps admittedly in the last level, which was so rancid. It asks you to do this very difficult wall running for quite a long time, and it made me so mad. I was like, am I even going to finish this? But I did, because I'm a professional. And I wanted to make sure nothing surprising happened at the end.
But like when you're dying those hundreds of times on one section, is it unfair? Like, is it
not really? Because it's so I don't know. It's so fast that it sort of blurs in. You don't really think like, oh man, you feel like you mess up, I guess. And there are
like the only reason I ask that is because I think that's what makes games like a Super Meat Boy, for example, work, or a Hotline Miami, where I feel like if you make the mistake, it's because, or if you die, you've made the mistake.
I'd say it's a real mix of. I think there are some bits where it's like, you get further than you got before, and then it's just like, surprise, hit something nightmarish that you don't know how to deal with. And so it's the surprise of the thing that kills you. I think sometimes there are things where I actually think the controls are tight, but there are bits where, like, the dash just didn't get me as far as it seemed to, like, the previous 10 times. And you just think, what happened there? Did I do it early? It's like murky, but again, it's going at such a rate that you don't really stop and analyze it all, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You don't really sit there and go, oh, it's this or that. I mean, I died for 1,000 different reasons. And I don't really mind that. I'm not saying it didn't like frustrate me in the same way. The platforming I'm definitely less keen on, because I feel like there is a solution to it, and it's just like, you just have to enact their solution. In the combat, there's a bit of interpretation to it. So the order you tackle it in, the powers you decide to use, you can upgrade yourself and change yourself quite substantially with the upgrades, actually. And it feels like the character you bring into those combat situations is going to have quite a big impact on how you tackle them.
You mentioned a very hard platforming bit towards the end of the game, and how, that's more linear and the combat is more open to interpretation. Is the platforming good? Because obviously first person platforming, it can be a little bit ropey sometimes.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's pretty fair. There are some things where like, I think it's sometimes like you with some games where you start them and where it restarts you, everything is like exactly timed, so that you start at the time you're meant to start, and then everything's going to be in place for your run. Here, I actually find I do the same thing. Sometimes things be in like slightly different locations, if that makes sense, which makes it a bit harder to kind of judge. But yeah, I'd say, when you die that many times, part of it has to be on you, and it probably sounds like I'm more down on it than I am. Like, weirdly, it's a game I grew to like a lot more as it went on, and I think it actually really comes together once you finished it and you start replaying it, because you bring all the upgrades from your entire campaign, you have them to you can replay the first level with like a fully upgraded person, and it changes. It changes the difficulty. Like when you come back to that first level after beating the whole thing, you can do it without dying once. So it seems like an absolute doddle. And also the like I said, the powers you have are just a bit more interesting. You can do more interesting things. You can like mess with people. I mean, what I'm using here is this like you can kind of hijack enemies to attack their friends,
right?
Which is obviously like, and this doesn't come until quite late in the game, but this is a much earlier level that I've brought it into. So actually, like replaying it is very different, and I think it's here when you've got this fully unlocked character that you'll be doing like pursuing best times, trying to climb the leaderboards for like fewest deaths. That's where the game like it just becomes a lot more fun. Where there's just a bit too much frustration the first time round. And it kind of depends what kind of player you are. If you're someone who likes to master something and kind of replay something to kind of get better at it, and if you chase high scores or best times or whatever, I think you'll find a lot in this. If you're just playing it for like, I just want like a one and done 6-hour campaign, I think that isn't the game at its best.
I'm glad you mentioned the campaign, because I'm seeing a lot of names pop up here, Matthew, and I am aware there is a story, but you haven't mentioned much about said story, so I'm guessing it's not great.
Well, the big problem with it is it's all delivered in as voiceover, and it's a game where you're trying to really concentrate on not dying. So, like, you're in the middle of combat situations and they're delivering exposition. It doesn't get repeated, which is actually a godsend. Because if every time I died, it started the line again, I would want to murder this guy. I'd have heard some lines like hundreds of times. But the downside of that is, like, if you miss it, which you probably will because you're trying not to die, that you can be like, what? Like, I genuinely don't know what some of this game is about. I mean, it's not that complicated. It's... you're trying to climb to the top of the tower because there's someone nasty at the top.
It's Dread or the Raid.
Yeah, basically. I wasn't paying much attention to it, but it's neither good nor bad. It's just not important to play and appreciate the game. Also, it's cheap. It's cheaper. I think like it's launching at like 20 quid or something, or 25. And it's pretty polished. And it's a nice looking game. A bit heavy on the pipes and vents, but I had fun with it, and I liked it a lot more at the end. And I'm still, I was tinkering with it today and having fun with it. And when you're enjoying it, then you don't really think of the, struggles you had with it earlier on, if that makes sense.
Very good, very good. Yeah, no, I remember previewing it whenever a couple of months ago, as I said, and really thinking that it could be good. Like maybe,
it's got okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm slightly conflicted about if I died that many times in some games, I'd really grow to hate them, and I pushed on with this one, and I
mean that says something.
Yeah, I just don't think its first 2 hours. It's only about 6 hours long, but I don't think its first 2 hours are where the good stuff is. Until you come back round. So
I might give that a shake. I might even come back next week with my own thoughts on it. But Matthew, in the last 7 days, I've been playing a game called Disc Room, and this can be summed up quite simply. I think the title does it really. You walk into rooms and there are discs, and the discs will kill you when they touch you. That's it. That
sounds like Ghostrunner.
That is the premise of it's kind of like it follows that one hit kill type of thing. So there are just all these massive saw blades. Well, they're not all massive. Some are small, some are big, whatever. Like there are a number of different saw blades in this, and the variety thereof is where I suppose that's what keeps you going in this game, because there are discs that can slow you down. There are ones that will follow your movements. There are ones that can explode. There are ones that they like spit out smaller discs out of their arse as they travel. There are boss battle discs. There are there are boss battle discs. It's amazing. And when you go into a room, you're given a couple of goals. It'll be survive for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, or there will be, it will still say survive for X amount of seconds, but seconds will be represented via things that you pick up, for example, and each thing is a second. So you might actually be survive for 40 seconds or something, but you need to collect 10 of these things. And also, there's more variety as well. The further you get into the game, you unlock abilities like a dash, so you can dash through discs. You have a sort of a bullet time thing yourself. There's a cloning one, which I thought was useless, but you can only have one ability active at any time. So I thought that kind of worked because it allowed you to experiment with certain abilities being more useful against certain discs, basically. Now, my main issue with this game is that
I hate discs.
it's this, it's very one note, and that is obviously unfair. It's, it does exactly what it says in the tin. There are rooms, there are discs, and it is enjoyable for the first, I don't know, hour, 2 hours, but after a while it does become a little bit samey, even with the new discs being introduced and the things like, pickups being seconds. But for those the masochistic types out there, there are leaderboards and extra challenges. One of the challenges is to complete the game in 15 minutes, which is outrageous because I'm sure the people watching can see, it's hard. It's very hard because of the sheer volume of discs that are out to kill you. But at the same time, enjoyable for the 2 hours or so.
Really stressful.
I mean, it is stressful, and you bring up Ghostrunner. It is similar in that regard, it being one hit kill.
It's the fact that the natural end state of these rooms is like, is it inevitable death? Or can you complete? If you complete
you can complete it. Like, you are given.
It's not just to last as long as you can, and then you will die.
No. It is. Right. Well, it is often last longer than a certain time. Last longer than 10 seconds, 20 seconds, a minute, whatever it is. And once you do that, then you will open up another room. And often when you go into one of these rooms, there will be there'll be rooms off to different sides. And, if you do goal 1, it will open up the room to the left. If you do goal 2, it'll open up the room in front of you. So there's so much to this. Like, there are loads and loads and loads of rooms and little challenges in this. And if you really fall for this, there's tons here for you. But
yeah,
I would just say, like, it's after 2 or so hours of it, I was like, okay, I get this. I've had my fun. I'm going to move on with my life now. But,
this would stress me out too much.
Yeah, is it?
I can just looking at it, I'm like, yeah. I don't know what it reminds me of. It reminds me of a mini game in another game that I dreaded playing, but I can't think of what that game was.
I mean, it's a little. There's a little bit of Meat Boy to it, I suppose, in that, your razor blades and all that.
Yeah, it's not so much that. It just reminds me of I don't know what it is. But
yeah, like, enjoyable. An enjoyable little game that, again, when we're talking about cheaper video games, Disc Room, I don't have the price to hand, but I know it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. So if you like what you see, dive in. So those have been the games that we've been playing over the last 7 days, but now it's time to test the knowledge of one another about games from whenever, as we've changed the rules. We haven't changed the rules, I won't panic, but look, let's just get into it. It is time for Mystery Steam Reviews.
It's time for Mystery Steam Reviews. Yeah.
Yes, Mystery Steam Reviews.
At the end of that.
What's that?
I feel like Gabe should wink at the end, that final zoom. Like,
I mean, he can maybe if there's time, but to be honest with you, there probably won't be time before next week. But I will try and make it happen for you, Matthew.
it's
Jesus.
time for
Anyway, mystery Steam reviews is where I, Colm Ahern, and he, Matthew Castle, test the knowledge of one another by, through Steam reviews that are a mystery. So the reviews, for those that aren't aware, both I, Colm, and he, Matthew, bring 3 Steam reviews to the MSR arena, so 6 in total, but we omit the name of the game associated with each review. Their opponent must correctly guess the game attached to each review. One correct answer equals 1 point. While both combatants have 90 seconds on each MSR, they both also have help in the form of 3 lifelines. These can be used at any stage during battle and also pause the 90-second timer. Each lifeline, however, can only be used once. And the lifelines are as follows. Question. The hot seat haver gets to ask a yes or no question. Second opinion, which is not where a fair clue is given to the warm chair sitter, but where indeed we get another Steam review of the game. Genre is the final one, and that is where the genre of the game is revealed to the one with the warm arse.
The evolution of hot seat haver to the one with the warm arse is such a stretch.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So now that we're all up to speed, I should say...
What are the series totals?
I don't know. I stopped keeping...
you did.
No, I genuinely stopped keeping count because I thought it would benefit Mystery Steam reviews if we didn't know the main series total. Is you're ahead? I genuinely don't know.
I am ahead.
All right, okay.
I believe it's 4-3.
Okay, good. But... it's not, congratulations. We haven't focused on a year this week. Instead, we have chosen, might make it a little bit harder, let's see. We've chosen a theme and we've gone for games with a water-based setting. Now, this could be underwater. It just needs to be a water-based setting. It doesn't necessarily have to be under. It could be over. A lot of water. Can't just be, Sonic the Hedgehog because of the Labyrinth Zone. It needs to be clear. So, with all that said, Matthew Castle, would you like your first Mystery Steam review?
I would love my first water-related Steam review.
Okay. No comedy, strange voice actors, bad optimization. It's just so wrong. And that's from Reapus Vanguard. It's not recommended. 0.2 hours on record. 0.2 hours at review time. And your time, Matthew Castle, starts now.
No comedy. Strange voice actors. I mean, any game with a water connection. Any game with a water connection, that's the review.
Correct.
Listen, I'm gonna pause the clock.
Ooh.
I need a genre shout on this.
Okay. Let's give Matthew his genre then.
I have no clue what this has thrown me completely.
So the genre of this game is, let me just find it here for you. The genre, according to Wikipedia, that's what we agreed upon, is a platform video game. A platform video game. And your timer restarts now.
It's a platformer with a sea theme. Why? A platform with a sea theme? That is so hard. I'm sorry. I need the second review.
Oh my god, we're pausing the clock. This is unprecedented.
I'm going to throw everything at this one.
Unprecedented. Okay,
this may be dumb, but I feel like I have no idea, and I want to be able to take a swing at this one.
Okay, your second opinion is as follows. Really good, enjoyable game for all ages. The remaster is stunning in 4K, and the gameplay is simple platformer with not too difficult boss fights. Does not matter if you're an adult or a child, you will love this game. Do you want me? I can give you, because I have it here as well. How many hours did they play? 19.3 hours on record, if that helps you.
It's the same thing as the other thing. That just says it's a platformer, it's saying kids like it.
Just think of all the words I said as well. Okay, your time restarts now.
Say it again. Say the second review again.
All right, okay.
Don't waste time.
Really good, enjoyable game for all ages. The remaster is stunning in 4K, and the gameplay is simple platformer with not too difficult boss fights. Does not matter if you're an adult or a child, you will love this game. 30 seconds.
Oh, I genuinely can't think. I know, like, all platformers have a water world, and it can't be you've just picked a game with a water world, because that would be bullshit.
I was double bluffing with the Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh,
I wasn't.
A platform game.
10 seconds, Matthew.
Under the sea.
5 seconds, Matthew.
A SpongeBob Bikini Bottom. SpongeBob the fucking Bikini Bottom. SpongeBob Adventures in Bikini Bottom.
So, Matthew.
Under the sea. SpongeBob Adventures in Bikini Bottom.
You said, after struggling with this for quite a while, you said SpongeBob Bikini Bottom, Under the Sea Bikini Bottom, Adventures in Bikini Bottom.
I said SpongeBob SquarePants Adventures in Bikini Bottom.
I'll be fair, and I will allow you to submit SpongeBob SquarePants Adventures in Bikini Bottom.
Yes.
It came to you with a flash of inspiration there at the end, and I can tell you, Matthew, that SpongeBob SquarePants Adventures in Bikini Bottom is incorrect.
You're kidding me? I wasted 2 clues on that.
But you were so close.
Oh, if it's called like SpongeBob SquarePants Journey to Bikini Bottom, you are a motherfucker. What's it called?
SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated.
Oh, that fucking sponge. Oh, I feel like a right Patrick.
Sorry, Matthew. So close, so close.
I wasted 2 lifelines.
Matthew, can I have my first Mystery Steam review, please?
An incredibly in-depth cannibalism simulator where you can partake in a war against hamsters. You can also play properly, I guess. MC Drizzer recommends it after 13.2 hours.
Okay, and the time starts now. An incredibly in-depth cannibalism simulator. Cannibalism underwater. You can partake in a war against hamsters. That's ludicrous. This isn't a game. You're lying to me. This isn't a real game. I am going to have to straight away pause the timer, and I'm going to ask for a second opinion, please, Matthew, because I am like you on SpongeBob. I have no idea. It could literally be anything.
The second opinion on this is best book I ever played.
Okay, time restarts now. Best book I ever played. Okay. Skyrim, but underwater. So there's obviously a lot of reading in this game. Is it a visual novel?
Why Skyrim underwater?
Just because there's a load of books in Skyrim. There's a lot of reading in Skyrim. There's a lot of reading in Disco Elysium.
I was interested in your thinking there.
Disco Elysium. That happens on an island, I think. See, I've never played Disco Elysium, but there's an awful lot. I know there's a lot of reading in that too. That's hardly that. I mean, is that such a defining feature in it? Ooh. Oh, but that's
Sound
all I
like it,
have. That's all I have. Reading Skyrim, Disco Elysium, like Planescape Torment, like what is like a CRPG. I think I'm going to shoot with Disco Elysium. Why not? Disco Elysium, final answer.
Interesting.
Why not?
That's your final answer.
That's my final answer, Chris. Yes.
The theme is the sea. You have picked Disco Elysium because it takes place by the sea.
Pretty sure.
You are right that Disco Elysium takes place by the sea. But are you right about this review? The correct answer is Sunless Sea.
Ah, it makes sense. When you say it, it makes sense.
I actually, as I was reading that out, I thought, have I done this one before? Have I done this one before?
I don't think you would. We have had I suppose we would have gotten the year in, wouldn't we? Maybe. I don't remember it, to be honest. Perhaps.
I really,
Matthew, would you like your second Mystery Steam review?
Yes, please.
Then that's exactly what you'll get. Why are pirates called pirates? Because they are... I think that's a misspelling there. There's meant to be another vowel at the end. That's from Deus Ex. It's recommended 101.1 hours on record and 29.2 hours at review time. Your time, Matthew Castle, starts now.
Why are pirates called pirates? Because they are. A very unhandy review, because it just... Unhelpful review, unhandy. Because, I mean, that's just all that says is a pirate game. There's no better clue than that. So that could be Assassin's Creed Black Flag. It could be Assassin's Creed Rogue, because that takes the place to sea. 100 hours for an Assassin's Creed game? That sounds about right. Could be Sea of Thieves. But 100 hours.
You've narrowed it down to 3.
Yeah, but it could be freaking Sid Meier's Pirates, couldn't it?
Could be. Who
could
knows?
Be anything with pirates. Oh, bloody pirates! I mean, I guess I could use my question to split it down.
Would you like to?
Yeah, let's use my question. Let's see if I get 1 point out of this.
Pause the timer
total
and
shit show.
So, all right. What is your yes/no question, Matthew Castle?
Is this game part of a series with more than one game, if that makes sense? Or is it a standalone game?
Yes.
Oh, no, I said or! You said that's not a fair answer.
Well, it's... okay. All right.
Are you really going to hold me to that fucking messed up question that I asked?
All right. Okay. I won't. I won't restart the time. I will ask, though, that it be a yes or no question. You're going to have to...
Did you say that?
Yes, that's in the rules. It's a yes or no question.
Oh, that's right. I don't have the fucking Bible
The
rules.
The rule book. Well, yeah. Okay, ask me the question again.
Rules. I meant rule book. Bible of rules. That's where my head's at. You know, the Bible with the rules.
But yes, ask me the question again, but in a different way.
Okay. Is this game part of a series with more than one game?
Yes. Your time restarts.
Oh shit! It's not Sea of Thieves. It's not Sea of Thieves. 100 hours. It's gonna be It can't be Rogue. No one played Assassin's Creed Rogue. But is it called? Assassin. So it's the
5 seconds, Matthew.
Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. That's my water.
So you said pirates? Could be Sid Meier? Could be Rare with Sea of Thieves?
Well, no, because I said it's a part of a series of more than one game.
But I was gonna say, but you used your lifeline and
Yeah.
you ended up on Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. And I can tell you, Matthew Castle, that Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is the right answer.
Yes! Oh, I could kiss my brain. Mwah!
So Matthew Castle goes up 1-0. So can I have my second Mystery Steam review, Matthew? I need this to catch you. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, could I have my second Mystery Steam review, please?
Your review is, it was nice to be back in Rapture again. 10 out of 10. That's from Camille. It's recommended with 14.9 hours on record.
Time starts now. You bastard. Because obviously you go, oh, you know, stop the clock. It's BioShock 2. But there's no way this is BioShock 2. You wouldn't do that. Or would you? I've genre and I have... Okay, I'm going to pause the timer and I'm going to use my genre lifeline, please. Oh no, it's going to be first-person shooter. Yes, could I have my genre?
So this is how it's described on Wikipedia, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's described as a survival horror video game.
Ooh. Okay, restart the timer now. Oh, restart the timer. Yeah. BioShock would be described surely as a first-person shooter, I feel. It's obviously a little scary. Oh god, survival horror that's underwater. Can't think of anything now. Or water-based. Dying Light, Resident Evil, Amnesia, Outlast, survival horror. Uh-oh. 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 Oh no, I can't think of anything. Survival horror. Unless BioShock 2 was described as a survival horror. Fuck it. BioShock 2. Final answer.
That is your final answer is BioShock 2.
It has to be Chris.
The review, it was nice to be back in Rapture again. 10 out of 10, of course. BioShock 1 was set in Rapture. We went back to Rapture in BioShock 2, but was it with the right answer? The correct answer is... Soma.
Shit!
You said Amnesia, I was like...
Jesus! Ah! Wait, that's annoyed me, as you'll have gathered. That's annoying. I should have got that. Should have got that. Oh well. Matthew Castle.
Listen. That's Mystery Steam reviews.
Yeah, that's the way
how it goes.
That's the way the cookie crumbles. After
Exactly.
all,
Have you played
game
Soma?
shaped. I have. I've played it. I enjoyed it. I should have. Yeah. It's annoying. That's very annoying. Matthew, would you like your third Mystery Steam review?
I would love my third mystery Steam review.
For the win, Matthew Castle, here we go.
No lifelines though, right?
No lifelines, no. Parent Simulator 2015. And that's from Alma. It's recommended 9.8 hours on record, 8 hours at review time. And your time starts now.
2015. So I was on magazines. I was covering Xbox when this happened. A game set at sea or in or around water that is a parent simulator. A parent simulator. I mean, there was the old BioShock Remastered, which could arguably be seen as a parent simulator because there's dads in it. If I'm thinking water and I'm thinking dads, I'm thinking BioShock. And it would be pretty shifty of you to pick a remaster. Was it in 2015? I don't know. It was around then, or was it later than that?
I mean, I've already picked a remaster in SpongeBob.
Yeah, that would be cruel. A parent simulator. Is there a game where you look after a kid on a boat? Little Nightmares? But no.
15 seconds.
I don't remember the water in that. I'm really leaning towards BioShock Remastered. I think it was called Remastered. It was on the console. I can't remember if they remastered it on PC.
Gonna need an answer.
I'm gonna say BioShock Remastered.
I'll allow it.
Oh, thanks, Chris. That's so kind of you.
Well,
that means it's fucking wrong. I know it already. You wouldn't allow it if you were gonna let me win.
So, Matthew, you said, you didn't trust me, you said Dad's Water BioShock Remastered. You said.
Yeah.
I can tell you that BioShock Remastered is incorrect. I wasn't actually unfair with you on this one. It's not BioShock Remastered. It was, I just needed to double check there. It was BioShock 2, the game that I just said for Soma. So yeah.
In 2015?
I think that was the remastered edition of it.
It didn't come out in 2015.
When did it come out?
BioShock, it was like 2012, wasn't it? It was earlier than that.
Was it? BioShock 2 came out
2010.
2010.
That 2015 really threw me. Evil. Bullshit. Evil. Bullshit.
But I think that
in the comments.
I think
bullshit.
I think that might
wait, 'cause this chant won't kick in for like 45 seconds.
I think that might have been an unintentional bit of evil bullshit though. Whereas maybe whilst I definitely did have people who backed me up on the vast clue, I could see where you were coming from. This I think was genuinely an honest mistake. But
I'm just waiting for the evil bullshits to kick in the comments.
Okay, well, while we wait, Matthew, could you give me my third and final Mystery Steam review, please?
So this is for your water-related game. Your third and final review is water. That's from MK3000. It's recommended, with 21.3 hours on record, 16.5 hours at the time of review. Good luck.
Okay. Okay. Time starts now, I suppose. I cannot believe that you would kick off about me giving you the wrong year for BioShock 2, because water, when it comes to water-based video games, is disgust. It is vile. You are a horrible little cretin, and I wish nothing but ill will on you.
Listen, all right, stop the clock.
Oh,
You can stop.
Oh, okay. All right, hang on. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to stop the clock. Why are we stopping the clock?
You can reset the clock. I got your backup review, so I thought you might kick off about it like a baby, like the baby that you are.
You son of a bitch.
That's okay. I'm like, listen, not everyone's made for like the hardcore grown-up clues. That's fine.
Okay, could you give me my proper Mystery Steam review, please? Yeah.
One of the most awesome game I've been playing ever. Nice plot, a lot of emotions, dilemmas and moral problems. At every step I was thinking, what if I am not right? That's from The Sad Cowboy. It's recommended at 10.9 hours on record, 10.8 hours at the time of review. This is your proper clue. Give yourself the full clock.
Okay, thank you.
That's all right.
One of the most awesome games I've been playing ever. Nice plot, a lot of emotions, dilemmas, moral problems. At every step I was thinking, what if I'm not right? So there's a morality system, maybe? Ooh. Now, I am going to pause my timer, because I might as well, because I have a question.
I can only say yes or no.
You can only say yes or no. So, which leads me onto my question. Matthew Castle, my question for you is this game Subnautica? It's not really. I mean, you're not allowed to do that. That's if you look at your rule Bible, you would see that that's also not allowed. So my question to you is, does this game have a morality system?
Oh, that is... I mean... It's very hard to express in yes and no.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
Hold on. Okay.
That's a bad question, but...
All right, okay, I'll give you a different question. Do you go underwater? Do you swim? Do you swim in this game? I think that's a fair question.
No.
Shit. Okay, time restarts now.
I don't think you do.
Well, in that
no,
case...
I'm sure you don't.
This setting stuff is harder, I think.
You're the one who chose to do it like this.
I'm completely blank. Games underwater where you're not swimming. So they're set near water or underwater. I'm just trying to think of what games did I see today when I was looking up underwater games. It's like a lovely story. Dilemmas and moral choices. Well, maybe not. Soma. I mean, it does sound quite Soma-y. Nobody's ever double dipped before. Soma, final answer. I have nothing better, Matthew. I apologize.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
Your final answer is Soma. Soma, of course, has already appeared in tonight's quiz, and you thought it was Bioshock 2, but it was Soma.
All right, Chris.
The correct answer is Bioshock 2. Oh my god! Oh! Oh my god! Oh, absolutely perfect.
Unbelievable. Oh, Jesus. Raging.
Oh, man.
Raging. Well, congratulations, Matthew Castle. You, I would have beaten you if I got him right, as the age-old tale goes.
That's what I say.
But I didn't, and you did, or at least one of them. So congratulations. Well, what did you get? Oh, it was the first one, whatever that was. Yeah. So congratulations. What would you like to do next week? What would war maybe, or something like that, or do you want to keep it on the?
Or,
War-based video games?
we could it's Watch Dogs Legions will be out, so we could do England or Britain.
Let's do that. Let's do games set in Britain?
Yeah, let's say that.
Okay. All right, there's something to look forward to on next week's Mystery Steam reviews. We will be testing the knowledge of one another with British video games. Games set in Britain, not made by British developers. Or with a very... Yeah, that's fine. All right, now...
with British developers, that's a bit... That opens it up a bit too much.
Yeah, it does. So, now it is time to turn to you, the lovely Weekspot consumer, as we take some of your burning questions. So this is the part of the show where, indeed, if you have questions or comments or theories or queries, get them in the live chat and we will get to them throughout the segment. We have a couple here. We had one. Let me just bring them up. I wrote them down. Actually, speaking of Ghostrunner, because you spoke about that earlier, Daniel asked, "What's a similar game that you think does the try again over and over but better?" And by the sounds of it, after you discussing it, you would think, I don't want to say that you hate, but a number of different games. Like, I'm guessing Hotline Miami, Super Meat Boy, maybe.
I would say, like Hotline Miami or Super Hot. But even then, Super Hot, there's somewhere it's still quite like, you haven't got total freedom just because there are more pressing concerns. But I don't mind the dying and repeat fast loop. But I definitely prefer it if there's like a bit more, if like you can experiment within those 10 seconds a bit more, and which I feel that you can definitely in Super Hot.
Okay, I get you. So it's where you're dying and retrying, but it's not a linear sort of a trial and error. There is...
Yeah, and there are, don't get me wrong, there are bits in Ghostrunner which actually really do tick that box. Like, some of the combat encounters I really, really like, and I was throwing myself at them and it was perfectly fine. And it's more just the platforming, because there is just a route, and it's like, you didn't perform my route, and that's boring.
I mean, I haven't played Ghostrunner yet. I will do, but in terms of this format, my favourite... I mean, I quite like a good version of these games, a la Hotline Miami. Like, Hotline Miami is one of my favourite video games. I absolutely adore it. But Super Meat Boy as well is terrific too. Another question we have here from Mog, who earlier gave us 10 English pounds. Thank you very much, Mog. It's very kind of you. You're a kind old soul, you are. Mog asked, what are your favourite takeaway meals and why? Why, Matthew?
I like an Indian takeaway. Well, I have very boring tastes. I pretty much have the same thing from every Indian takeaway or indeed restaurant. I always have, and here's my incredibly mild order. Don't be too disappointed. Chicken tikka, sagaloo, and pilau rice. It's dry as hell, but I love it. It's not got a sauce.
I suppose you like what you like. Yeah, I am very much... you say you like Indian, I like Chinese. That would be my go-to takeaway. I am the opposite to you. I'm like, drown the fucker in sauce. Give me every last drop of sauce you have. And
hot sauce
hot sauce, yeah. Like
I can't do anything if it's not mild. I can't deal with it.
I enjoy. I mean, like anyone, Well, if you like hot things, I do like just a normal curry, but I like a kung po. I enjoy. Well, I'm just trying to think what I had recently. A Thai. Well, yeah, actually, Thai. Like if we're, if we're feeling fancy, Matthew, rather than a Chinese, we may get a Thai, and I do like a green curry, which is that's the proper spicy one, which I enjoy. But I'd never go for like Vindaloo is too much. That's like no, we're not going that hot. But yeah, takeaway food. It's lovely. It's very, very nice. Speaking of food,
I like a bit of beef and black bean sauce as well.
Yeah, solid. But yes, keeping on the food theme, Richie asked when speaking about last week's episode of the PC Gaming Weekspot and Matthew's mint Kit Kat Chunky. Richie asked, is it just the Kit Kat that is chunky, or does the mint also have a bit of junk in the trunk? I didn't taste it, Matthew. You did. Like, basically, I think what Richie's asking is, like the mint bits of a Kit Kat Chunky. Like, what are the mint bits? Is it like a gooey?
It's mint flavored chocolate.
Right. Okay.
It's not like you bite into a Kit Kat Chunky and it's full of like fucking polos.
Triple X.
I remember going to a friend's party when we were like teenagers, and his sister making some Pims, and it said you put some mint in it, and she got a jug, and she basically put such a thick bushel of mint into this jug that when she poured the Pims in, it was like the marbles going through a kaplunk. It was like dribbling through the mint, and it just turned it into the vilest mint juice ever. It was just a mint juice. And we thought we were being so sophisticated with our Pims. And it's like...
But your mint Kit Kat Chunky much nicer than your mint Pims.
Oh, I like mint chit. I went back to the sweet shop today to buy some more, and I told the lady at the sweet shop, I can't find these mint Kit Kat Chunkies anywhere but here. And she said, "We'll order some more in." I said, "Thank you very much." And
she's going to order more in specifically for you.
Well, for the shop. And then she said, I can't find an orange twirl anywhere. And I said, this isn't my best anecdote. I said, I had one of those in Brighton, and I didn't really care for it. And she was like, that's disappointing. And then I left.
Solid story. Harry Koo asks, The Terminator or The Terminator 2?
Terminator 2. It's got the better action scenes in it. Terminator's cool. I'm not saying Terminator's shit, but Terminator 2's like...
like, the thing is, they're both very good. Like, I did Terminator and Terminator 2.
Before I saw Terminator 2, it was like a nightmarish thing to me. Because I used to see little clips on TV of like the Liquid Metal Man. And back in the 90s when computer special effects were still cool and exciting, that was like the scariest thing. I didn't ever want to watch it because I knew it had that scary metal man like slurping out of walls and stuff.
He was actually on telly recently, came across it and ended up watching a good portion of it. Came into a bit where Robert Patrick was being a scary, slurpy, disgusting, fluid metal man. It is. Yeah, I'd probably go Terminator 2. I think I saw Terminator 2 before I saw The Terminator. So when I saw The Terminator, I found it a little bit odd that The Terminator was a baddie, basically. But yeah, both very good films. I have a long question here for you, Matthew, from Gert Tarkter. And Gert asked, or Gert said, first of all, I just so happened to finish Death Stranding a day or two ago after caning it for a couple of weeks. One of my best gaming experiences yet. So the news of more Kojima wonderful weirdness is most exciting. My question for you, Do you think that the design of Death Stranding could have a strong influence on other games yet to be released? In particular, the brilliant asynchronous multiplayer aspects and the alternative and innovative take on open world gameplay and terrain traversal. One thing I wanted to note that I thought was very clever about Death Stranding's design is how it effectively has a dynamic difficulty system, in that the more orders you take and more lost packages you try and pick up, the harder you make it for yourself as you get slower and more more unbalanced. Just thought it was interesting how it felt like it gave a lot more responsibility to the player in terms of setting the challenge than most open world games would do. What do you think, or do you think Death Stranding will or has influenced video games in any way, shape, or form?
I don't think it has yet. I mean, the kind of games you'd think it would be influencing would probably be still being made right now. I hope it does. Like, I really like the asynchronous stuff. I really like that it uses online in a non-combative way. I think the problem is most people who are investing in multiplayer and are doing it with, the money-making opportunities in mind, which means some player versus player and players together stuff. It's not really in vogue, which is a shame because it's absolutely brilliant and what makes that game. I hope so, but there's no evidence. Like, I haven't seen anyone.
Nobody's done it yet.
Nothing on the horizon appears to have that, and it's not like, I guess it takes a bit of time because like a couple of years after Dark Souls, you started having a lot of developers. When you're interviewing them, they're like, I really like Dark Souls, and that's where this bit of Dark Souls come. That's why we've got this save system or this combat system or da 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 da. It does take a while to filter into people's thinking, and I don't know if Death Stranding's had that kind of like massive sort of impact, if that makes sense. Like, people maybe it, but it has. It's not like a Dark Souls style phenomenon where everyone's wild about it.
Like, yeah, I don't think we'll have Stranding likes, but I think that maybe we'll see in a couple of years, like, because Death Stranding came out. Well, it came to PC this year, but the PlayStation version was last year, wasn't it? So like, it hasn't actually been that long.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so you could sort of say that the stuff it's riffing on is kind of like the messages and the warnings that people left in Dark Souls, except here you're leaving like physical structures to help people. Maybe it
and
itself,
you can leave messages in Death Stranding as well.
Yeah, maybe it itself is a riff on that, and so like someone else will come to the same conclusion. I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah, perhaps.
But yeah, I like the point about the difficulty system as well. That's
God. You've gone. You're back. You're back.
There's a comment here about me having a terrible webcam, and they're right. I have got to have one.
So, thank you very much for all of your questions and your comments and your theories and your queries, your burning questions. But it's now time, that part of the show, where typically throughout the last number of weeks, we would try and chat to Mr. Spielberg, of course. But for those that have been keeping score, last week you'll know that we received an email from his personal assistant, Greta Surname, and she asked about, she said she would take a call from us and try and set this up. We decided that it would be best to do this call live on the air. And she said to give her a ring at around 8 o'clock, which it is now. So shall we do that, Matthew? We'll give her a little ring. No, it's not.
Let's do it.
It's not actually
it's
voice.
Weird, it's not the Spielberg interview, but it's the precursor to a Spielberg interview.
Yeah, it's kind of. I know. As I said last week, Greta, I'm sure she's a lovely woman who has her own stories to tell. So we could be here for the next 2 hours or so interviewing Greta. We'll see. But this is actually, I have my phone hooked up to the computer because it's not on Skype. It's not video call. It's just actually like a call. So
it'll be good streaming experience for everyone.
They'll hear. They'll hear her.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just gonna hang on. I'm just gonna plug my phone in here, and okay, I'll just start dialing. Let's see. It's in America, so there are a lot of numbers. Okay. Hopefully, Greta should. You know, she told me she'd pick up. So, if you have any questions for Greta in the chat, please let us know, and we'll be delighted to ask her.
Hello, you've reached the voicemail of Greta Surname, assistant to Mr. Spielberg. Sorry I can't take your call right now. I'm most likely gone to the takeaway to collect the 14-inch pepperoni pizza from Mr. Spielberg. Please leave a message after the tone, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Hi, Greta. How are you? Sorry that we haven't been able to. Well, we've tried ringing you live on the air here on the PC Gaming Weekspot, and it hasn't really worked out. You say you're probably off getting more pizza for Mr. Speed, which is, you know, he's well within his rights to have his pizza. I better hurry this up, Matthew, because you normally have time with these. Greta, if we could organise maybe a phone call for next week on next week's show, that would be great. I'll email you during the week, but we'll set it up. Thanks very much for your time. Hope you're having a lovely day and a lovely pizza as well. Thank you. Right, I've hung up.
You talk to me in the middle of that message. You say, I better hurry this up, Matthew, which is going to sound very weird to Greta's surname.
Well, she knows. I think she knows she's on. This is live on the air. I think so, but shame.
A question for Greta from Robert Derrickson. What kind of American says takeaway?
Well, Greta, obviously. You know, she's a.
What she used to live in it. She lived in England for a while.
She did. Yeah.
She sounded quite elderly.
I mean, I've never seen Greta, so I don't know what age she is. But you know, we'll see. We'll get Greta on the show next week, and I'm sure it'll be an utter delight.
Seems legit.
Of course it is. What else would it be? But yes, Greta, I'm sure we'll have her on. It'll be a delight, just as this episode of the PC Gaming Weekspot was. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching, as always. There are a couple of ways that you can support and follow and all that type of stuff. You can follow myself on Twitter at Colm_Ahern. You can follow Matthew on Twitter at MrBasil_Pesto if you want more from us and more silly ramblings and whatever else. If you want to talk to some lovely like-minded people, head to the Rock Paper Shotgun Discord, discord.gg/Rock Paper Shotgun. Also,
do follow me on Twitter. It's really good.
It does help.
Twitter. My Twitter feed's really good.
Seeing as you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell. That way you'll be notified of all future. Oh, hang on, I didn't mean to ring Greta again. Didn't mean that. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell. Also, we'll be plugging something else soon, but we're not at that stage yet. But for everything PC gaming, head to www.rockpapershotgun.com. But now, Matthew, it is time for my least favourite part of the show. This is the part of the show where we must bid the listener adieu. So say goodbye, Matthew Castle.
Goodbye.
And say goodbye, Colm Ahern, Sloan, Gaffol. And remember, Matthew's Ghostrunner review on rockpapershotgun.com. Read it. Bye.